Hey, it's me, Mark, and last week I did a poll on what video you guys wanted, and you guys voted for this. But instead, this week, I'm gonna make something else. Yep, it's gonna be a Godzilla skull, specifically Shin Godzilla, because that's my favorite, and if you don't agree, I automatically don't like you. First we're gonna paint this little mini one, test print, if you will, because I sculpted on a computer, wasn't sure how well it looked, so it's always nice to see it in person. Anyways, I'm gonna start by just throwing this paint all over it. There's a lot of fucking tiny little holes that you have to shove the paint in, and so it takes a minute because it's hard to work the paint through those tiny areas and get it thoroughly enough to look good. But after I get a good coat of that on and uselessly brushing it off, it was a good idea at the time, I'm gonna dry brush some lighter browns onto it so it looked like a fossil. After that, it's pretty much done, so we can move on to printing a larger one, because now we know it looks fine the way it is, and I'll print out the little lower jaw with it this time. And I am using the Elegoo Mars 2 resin printer, if any of you weirdos are wondering what I'm doing. But after it's done printing, it's still covered in all that goop, so what I'm going to do is break it off the little support system that it's printed on, and then just gush it with a lot of alcohol, just like many of us do with our problems. Just like many of the things that I use in my tiny little room, it is very toxic when it's uncured, so again, don't do what I'm doing unless you know how to do what I'm doing. Brain cells deplete as you do this. Anyways, for the first paint job, I'm gonna do it like a Ghost Godzilla or a Frozen Godzilla idea. I'm just gonna use these colors, like the blues and a lot of cooler colors to make it look like it's cool. Makes sense? I know it doesn't, but anyways, I'm gonna do a few different styles because the cool thing about a 3D printer is that you can print a bunch of the same things. It's in the name, 3D printer. It's cool. Yay, definitely worth all the money I spent on it. Totally. But I'm gonna use a lot of blues in this, if you don't realize, and that's mainly to get like a fun layering effect. After like putting on a layer of paint, then wiping it off, then adding more, you kind of get these weird colors that are fun. Camera doesn't pick it up the best, but I know it's there, so just believe me, trust in me as I trust in my cat. And I would not trust my cat with plastic at all. My cat has like a weird addiction to it. I don't know if anyone else has like weird children or animals, anything that eats plastic, but mine, it just, something's wrong with it. Not quite sure what it is, but it's a special cat. Anyways, we're gonna work on the base, which is just a little wooden plaque that I got from the dollar store, I think, and I'm gonna drill a hole in the back, that way it could hang on the wall, and then I'll drill some holes off camera, I think, to add the wire that the skull sits on. After throwing on some bread, I'm ready to test it out. And then here you see I'm finally using it to just see if it works, and ta-da, it works. Magic. So I sculpted this on an online program thingy because my computer can't run shit for shit. It's called like SculptGL. It's free. I'll probably put a link in the description if you ever want to try it out. But downside of that is I can't get that detailed. If you look very closely on this model, you could see some sharp lines, and that's because I had to cut down the pixels and all that on this. But I think it looks pretty nice. I do plan on making a full Godzilla skeleton later, eventually. Another one of my giant projects to throw in the pile. But I like this blue, but I think we should do it some nice bone color. What do you think? So just like the mini test printed one, we're gonna add a color. We're gonna add paint. I'm gonna mix up some bone white. I'm just mixing colors to see what's right. That's why it looks all messy and fun. Don't recommend painting this way. For a cat, I did paint a cat skull before, and that had a nice straight path, but for this I just wanted to experiment with some colors and see what I could do with paint. But either way, we're going to need a base color on it so that we can throw on washes and dry brushing and all that. And I'm going to start by pouring a bunch of water onto my table and throwing on a little bit of, I believe, burnt sienna is what it's called. It's brown. I don't know why there's long names for brown. But once I mix it up with the water, it's going to be nice and watery because you add water. And that way it's going to be very diluted. And it'll look nice once I throw it onto the skeleton because it will kind of pull up and get in the deep spots and make it look more realistic and a little more aged. And then with some lighter colors, I'm going to dry brush it over so that way it'll hit the highlights, the highest ends of the bumps. That way it'll look... Watch the video, you see what I'm doing. But by doing that process a few times, it's done. And now we can just stare at it because it's done. Also, fun fact, my little brother hated the blue version of the skull, the ghost one that I did, so much that he made me print out another one just so he could paint it and say he made it better. And that's what you're looking at right now, the frozen skull. But let me know which one you like more, the frozen version or the regular bone version. Just I want to rub it in his face that mine is better. I already know that. And hope you like this video and subscribe if you're a weirdo. And see you guys next week.